Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to talk about a couple of different encounters with apparent alien creatures that some of my subscribers have relayed to me through emails. I was contacted recently by a couple of different people, and they both had different experiences, and I'm going to share their stories because I think they're pretty interesting. And we're going to start off with Tammy, and we'll tell you about what Tammy's story is. She had multiple encounters over the years with three different types of alien creatures, she says, and we'll talk about that right now. And usually it seems like they're showing up in her bedroom, and we'll talk about that first. Anyway, this is the not the entire email, but I'm reading a portion of it. It says here, but anyway, my story is not a one-time thing. I have been taken many times. They do weird stuff as well, so it might be difficult for you to believe me on some of the stuff. But I can assure you I will only tell the truth. The first time that I knew what was happening to me was not the first time. I have remembered other times later. So I'm going to tell you about what happened when I was 18 years old. This is the start of my acknowledgement back in 1990. So basically, she realized in 1990 that something weird was going on. I'm from California, but moved to Kentucky in 1997, and then I moved to Ohio in 2005, which is where I'm currently living. In 1990, I had been living with my mom in Lake Arrowhead. I got a job at Price Club where my sister was the manager, which was closer to my dad's house in Whittier, so I moved back home. I had lived with my dad till I was in the 10th grade. I lived with my mom for a little more than 2 years, so my brother had taken over my room at my dad's. My brother had just gotten married, and a lot of this stuff was still in my old room, a lot of his stuff. His pet birds, his bed, and other stuff. My dad and brother, John, were fine with me moving back in, so the first couple of nights I slept in the room with the birds. I think their names were Ernie and Bert. Yeah, Ernie and Bert from Sesame Street. They were cockatiels, small birds and not a problem. On the night it happened, I was sleeping with a large stuffed monkey. His name is Bruce. I still have him. Anyway, I'm awakened by something pulling Bruce out of my arms. I hold on to him for dear life. I can feel my head sliding off my pillow as I'm being pulled too. Then the birds start freaking out. I think the birds scared them away. So whatever was in her room, she's saying that the birds started, squealing, and that caused whatever was in the room to take off, is what she's saying here. Anyway, a few days later, my brother took out all his stuff, birds included. I can't remember the dates it happened, but it was exactly 45 days in between the first time and the second time. Then the same thing happened again. I felt them pulling on Bruce. I held on as tight as I could. It felt like he was being pulled at a 45-degree angle. I felt my head sliding off my pillow. I felt like there was at least 2 to 4 things in my room next to me. I was too scared to open my eyes. So fast forward to 2017 to 2019, weird things started to happen to me. I just thought that I was getting older and was working at a full-time job. I also should mention I have always had very vivid dreams that I could recall. I also talk in my sleep, so some of the times I was abducted before 2019, I thought they were just dreams. In 2019, however, she saw the light, both literal and figuratively. There is a lot of stuff that happened leading up to this event. I was very sick with kidney stones. I was in the process of passing one. I hadn't slept and I was exhausted. I was just taking Advil at this point. I was in my bed. I guess I fell asleep and was dreaming that I was talking to my daughter in my dream. Something about her hair, I think. I was trying to explain something to her. Anyway, I was talking in my sleep and this woke me up. I think I scared them as I felt them scattered, and I opened my eyes to see a large purple refracting light as big as my husband's dresser. The light was in front of his dresser, so it was an easy comparison. I closed my eyes out of fright. I could still see the light. It was so bright. This happened within 30 seconds. I jumped off my bed from the opposite side and ran to the guest room where my husband was watching TV. My son was standing in the hallway talking to his dad. I almost ran into him. I was so scared. I told them they were in my room, but they didn't believe me. But after that, I figured out the plan. They were coming almost always on Wednesday and Saturday. They did mix it up and came on different days when I would not go to sleep or if the weather was too bad. They use a sedative, so this is why most people don't have a clue. They come in through a portal. I have seen it at least 3 different portal. I have seen at least 3 different ones. So she's saying that they're coming in through a portal, and she's seen at least 3 different creatures. The tiny ones, the grays, and the insect ones. The tiny ones meaning the short grays, then the taller grays, and the insect ones. They stab you with the sedative relatively quickly upon entering your room. I have been stabbed so many times on the side of my head it gave me skin cancer. I had to have it removed. So she's claiming that she was stabbed by some sort of needle in the side of her head, and in that area she had skin cancer and had to have that cancer removed. Anyway, continuing, she says, when they take you, they wrap you in a cocoon-like thing. It is white with colored lights, and there is an electrical tingling sensation. Most of my memories are of them coming into my room and being abducted or waking up during the procedure that they do. When I got the first real look at them, I woke up in front of 3 screens about the size of a large iPad in a trifold. You know, the one in the middle is straight and the other 2 on each side are at an angle. There are images on the screens, but what I noticed the most is there are glasses in front of me, and every time I move my eyes, the glasses follow. I'm thinking, what the hell? Then I look past through the screen. They are translucent, and I could see a face, and it's not human. It's looking at me, and I don't know how I know this, but I think I was thinking, oh shit, she's awake. Or they were thinking, that's what the alien was thinking, that, oh shit, she's awake. And it's not human, whatever it is. That's what she says. Then I'm out again. She conks out again. I have a lot of memories after that, and I started remembering things that happened before I saw the light as well. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I will write again soon. So hopefully Tammy does provide some more another email detailing her experiences. I mean, this is really weird. This is someone saying that they're getting shot with something, a needle or something. That was something that the Calvin Parker, one of the Pascagoula abductees, stated that he thought he was shot. They shot him up with some sort of a sedative. And maybe that's how it's done. They're shooting people up, and they don't even realize it for the most part. Some people see it, and that's what it is. They're getting a sedative of some sort in a needle, and that's what's happening here. Who knows? That's the thing, though, with these kind of stories, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's the same thing, I have my own stories. I mean, my story from when I was a kid, I could tell that story till I'm blue in the face, but, I can't prove it. All I could tell you is that that's what happened. That's all I could say, and people could take it or leave it, and that's unfortunate. That's how this phenomenon is, and that's how it is with this case here. There's a lot of people that have these same sort of weird experiences. Tammy seems to be another one. People in her family were having trouble believing her. I mean, it's hard to believe. It really is. If you don't experience it yourself, I could understand why it's hard to believe. But that's the way it is. And I know what happened to me. I know that there was a creature in my room when I was a kid. There's no doubt about that as far as I'm concerned. But I can't really prove it. I can't prove it to my family. I can't prove it to my friends. I can't prove it to the world. All I can do is talk about it and tell you, that it was real, no question about it. And speaking of that, there was another, and this was from Mark. This is another message I received recently, and I've got permission from these people. They wanted to share their experiences, so they're sharing them with me in an email, and they don't mind that I shared them on this show today. But he says this: Mr. Quirk, I am writing in response to a program you were on detailing an experience you had as a small boy in which a 3-fingered creature visited your bedroom. Yeah, he's talking about the episode Surviving the Survivor, where Scott Roeder and I were recently on there. That's where he saw this at, and I did mention that experience with the 3-fingered creature that I was in my room when I was a kid. And I'll get into that a little bit more later, but let's see what he has to say. This is something that happened to him, to Mark here, when he was a little kid in the 1950s, apparently. He's 77 years old now. He says, I am a 77-year-old former naval aviator, airline pilot, writer, and police officer, among a few others. Thousands of hours in the air, and I never saw anything more unusual than my first officer. However, when I was a lad, perhaps 6 to 8 years old, I too experienced a creature of some type in my bedroom. If it was a simple dream, would I still remember it so vividly? That is the question in my mind. I remember it was after my parents were asleep. My dad may not even have been there, as he was an airline pilot and out of town quite often. We lived in a very small house at the end of a street that dead-ended against fields and trees. The area was not rural by any means, but under development. At that time, our house was the end of the block. As I was trying to get to sleep, a small creature entered my room and sat on the end of the bed, the foot. It had angular features and what appeared to me as a young kid to be a hat of some type. Now that's interesting. He says a hat of some type. That was what Willie Strieber described. It looked like the creature that he saw, back when he first started experiencing these things, was wearing some sort of a weird hat. Anyway, it looked at me, and I put my head under my covers, I think calling for his mom and dad. I do not remember which now. I do not remember if there was any interaction of some type or not. I do know that in the 1950s, there was not much interest in the UFO phenomenon or creatures in people's homes, etc. On another occasion, I remember experiencing the sensation of being floated out of our small hallway. Why would I have such memories at my age if they were dreams or a child's make-believe and night terrors? In light of your experience, I thought you would might enjoy mine. Yes, I did enjoy your story. It's just a quick memory. That's basically what mine was a thing that lasted for 20 minutes when I was a kid. Well, you're saying here you have this one memory from when you were between 6 and 8 years old, something coming in the room, sitting on the end of your bed, looked like it was wearing a small hat. It had angular features. That sounds similar to what a gray alien looks like. And back in the 1950s, there was no discussion at all of that I could find of aliens entering people's rooms, as we would learn a lot more about in the 80s and beyond, when a lot more people who were abductees started coming forward, and we started hearing a lot more about that. But yeah, it's weird, and that's the thing. You have these things happen, and there's not much you can do about it. I mean, I think about my experience when I was a kid, and nobody believed me. And I remember coming to that reckoning early that day, the next day, the morning after this incident happened. Like when I was, I talked about this before, trying to tell my mom, I don't know how long I was trying to convince her, but after a certain point, I realized that nobody's going to believe me. She's not going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe me, and nobody ever really did. And I just had to realize personally that, well, I know it happened, and there's nothing I could do about it, but it really did happen, and I guess nobody's going to believe me, and what could I do? And I didn't even think of aliens at the time. I had no idea what it was. I thought it was something out of hell, like I've talked about many times before. I didn't know what it was. It took a long time to realize, to come to some sort of conclusion as to what it was. And I think now, I'm pretty sure it had to be one of these creatures, one of these non-human intelligent beings. That's what it was. It had to be something like that, because everything that was going on that night just doesn't make any sense to me. Other than that. You wake up, I wake up in the attic, right? And not only was there something standing beside the bed there, right, that was not human, whatever it was, right? There's no way this thing, whatever it was, could not have been human. I mean, it had only 3 digits on its hands, and these digits were not like, they weren't like fingers at all. They were like thick at the bottom, at the base, and they came to almost points. And there was no thumb that I could see. Right? Now, again, I just so everyone knows who haven't heard this story before, I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm sleeping in this attic. My brother Davey sleeps on one side. I'm on the other side. There's stairs in between there with a banister around it, but you could see through the banister. It was just 2 boards there so you don't fall through it and fall down the steps. But so we wake up, the lights on. We used to leave the light on a lot in that room. There was this big light right on top of the steps, and was on. The whole room was illuminated. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I hear this humming sound, this loud, overwhelming electronic humming sound, right? Just, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This is not right. Something's out of whack here. And not only that, even more so was that there was something standing right by the bed. I could see its shadow. I could see the shadow of something standing right by the bed, and I could see its arm and its hand, because its hand was I had this thin blue blanket. It was over my head. And I could see the shadow of this hand getting closer, or right where my face is, right over my face, and then further away, then right over my face again, further away. It just kept on doing this the whole 20 minutes that this thing lasted. And I trying to talk to this. I tried to say, who's there? Nothing. Just kept on doing this, up, back and forth with the hand. And then I started, I peeked out of the blanket to see my brother. I could see him sleeping. His face, he's facing me. And I started yelling toward him, and he's not getting up. It's the screaming is not causing him to wake up. He's like conked out completely, and there's this ungodly sound that's somewhat muffling my voice. Then I start screaming for my mom and dad, for a couple of minutes, and nobody ever comes. Nobody ever comes to the rescue. They're right beneath us, right in the room below us. Nothing happens. Nobody comes to the rescue. And so I'm just laying there. I start resorting to prayer, because that's all I could think of. What else could I do? I mean, I was too afraid to look at it. Sometimes I wonder, maybe I should have tried to get out of there, but it would have taken something. It would have, I would have had to face this thing, whatever it was, and I didn't want to face it. I was too scared. I'm thinking, this is out of hell, whatever it is. I don't want to look at this. I'm scared. And then somehow, during the course of my prayer, and I would open my eyes, and it would still be there. The thing was still there. It wasn't going away. The humming sound wasn't going away. The whole time, that was just that thing was standing there doing this with its hand over my head, and there was this humming sound. The next thing I know, boom, conked out somehow. I don't know how. And then the next day I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the rest is history. There's nothing there. I don't know what happened. I try to tell my mom. She doesn't believe me. Later on, my dad gets home from work. I tell him. He doesn't believe me. You have to go on through life then. You're like almost 9. I was almost 9 years old at the time. I'm thinking I'm just a kid. Nobody's going to believe this story. I know it happened. I know there was something in the room that I don't know what it was or where it came from or what it wanted, but there was something there. I know that personally, but I can't prove it. And I'm going to have to go through life like this now because what else could I do? I knew that as a kid. I knew there was no convincing anybody. I came to that realization after about an hour or two trying to convince my mom, begging her, I'm telling you, Mom. And she kept on insisting it was a dream when I knew it wasn't. I knew I was wide awake. So that's unfortunate, just the way it is. When you have personal experiences like that, there's no way you could possibly prove them. All you could do is personally that it was real. And that's all you could do. I mean, what else you could tell people the story. Some people will find it interesting. Some people won't believe you. They'll think, oh, he must have been just dreaming or something, even though they have no idea what I experienced that night. But they'll come to that conclusion anyway. That's just the way it is, folks. But it's nonetheless, it's always fun to hear these kinds of stories. So anybody has any stories, please, don't feel. Don't feel pressured, but I wouldn't mind getting more stories on here like this. And if anybody ever wants to come on the show to talk about their experiences, that would be great too. I've said that before. I love hearing about people's experiences. What percentage of these stories, when you hear them, are real and which ones aren't? I don't know. I would have to imagine a high percentage of them are real. I would probably say 85 to 90% of them are real. I don't know what the percentage would be where they're hoaxes or something else, dreams or anything like that. Some are more convincing than others. I don't know. I could just tell you this, that from my personal experience, I know for a fact that something's here because there was something in that bedroom that night that was not human, and somehow whatever was going on there, it had the ability to keep everyone else in that house conked out. While I was screaming my head off, despite how loud I screamed, it did not matter. Nobody came to the rescue. Nobody heard it. Nobody believed me the next day. And somehow I was conked out eventually. That's all I could tell you. But it took me over about at least 10 years went by. At least 10 years went by when I finally realized what it was. What it most likely was I think it was alien. That's what it was in my mind. I can't imagine anything else. It all jibes. I mean, you heard the stories before with the humming sound. How many stories I come across over the years now, over recent years too, a lot more. Like people talk about a sound. It sounds like bees buzzing, a whole bunch of bees. That's what I was thinking too. That's another thought that went through my head, like bzzz. I mean, it was some sort of a buzzing sound, or electronic humming sound is the way I was always describing it. But yeah, I could see how people could describe it as bees, a lot of bees. It was something like that. It was very weird. That's all I could say. I never heard anything like it before or since. These stories are interesting, I got to say. And I'd like to, any other stories anyone has out there they want to share, it would be appreciated. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk about something just real quick here with regard to the drone situation. I thought this comment on Reddit was interesting. This was somebody named Green Splash put this comment on UFO Reddit, and Green Splash states, "The whole conversation about drones on the East Coast seems to have completely disappeared. It's like nobody cares or even remembers anymore. Did the government step in and quietly shut it down? Is that really how it ends? No answers, no updates, no follow-up, just silence like it never even mattered?" That's how it does seem, doesn't it? I mean, everyone was talking about drones. I think what happens is some people get sick of it. People get tired and they want to hear the next story. So then the next story pops up, so that's how it is. There was a response here that I'll share. This was from All Day Throwawayla. Says, "People live from paycheck to paycheck. If it's not affecting them, it's pushed to the back of their mind. If you're fighting to tread water, you don't care about breakthroughs in ship technology, even if it would mean you never had to swim again. Just don't forget or lose the curiosity you've picked up from this, and keep an open mind and look up." Yeah, that's all you could really do. But the drones have not gone away, really. I mean, there's still sightings all the time, not just drones, but orbs. In fact, I just want to share an interesting one here that I saw on Twitter X, and this was shared by from Kobe for 3. And this happened in Palm Beach, Florida recently. It was a Type 3 UFO UAP spheres flying past drone at extreme speed. Don't blink, you might miss it. Definitely not human technology. I would have to agree that this does not look like human technology. Now, somebody was filming this drone, and this reminds me, actually, when you see this, it reminds me of video that John Billingsley, Los Angeles attorney who runs the YouTube channel Latchkey Hustle, he's been filming a lot of stuff like this, where you see these objects moving incredibly fast through the skies, and there's I can't see how they could be man-made. And this is stuff that's been, these kind of objects have been seen all over the world, including over the skies of Ukraine. There was some there was these kind of things moving so fast you could barely see them. But somebody was filming this drone. Check this out. There's a drone there. It's one of those quadcopter types, and there you can't even see it. It goes so fast. There it is. There it is. It's going at so fast you could barely see it. Now, what in God's name could go that fast? If I don't think there's anything man-made out there that's capable of moving like that. I mean, that's way fast. Now, I'm sure Mick West will tell us it's an insect, but I think that thing looks like it's way up there, above the well above the this drone for sure, I think, and that's what it looks like. But hey, I can't prove that, but it does look pretty good. Yeah, there's one thing out there you gotta watch. I mean, people talk. I've talked about this before. There's fakes out there. You gotta watch. There's a lot of fakery on the internet. But some fakes are very obvious, and I think a lot of us out there are aware of that. But there was something I came across today. I do a search. I'm looking for UFO stories, and one of the top UFO stories that popped up today was some article from this site called owennegro.com, and the headline reads, "Is it real? UFO crash in Arizona exposed." Now, I didn't hear anything about this supposed UFO crash in Arizona. That's because there's nothing to it. That's what I think. But this person here, the writer of this article, Brianna Oquendo, thinks a lot of people are falling for it. I didn't even hear anything about it until I read this article. And I don't see how anybody could fall for it, and you'll see why later on. It says here, the article says, could a recent viral video possibly deceive us? Sightings of unidentified flying objects have captivated millions, but sometimes they're mere illusions, or fakes, I would have to say. But she writes, on January 6th, a video allegedly depicting a UFO crash in Arizona took social media by storm. Initially shared on Instagram by a user known as Cybervisions, the 1 minute and 18-second footage features individuals donned in hazmat suits who seemingly belong to government agencies. They scrutinize a mysterious object that appears circular and jade black while conversing and capturing photographs. The entire scene is cordoned off with yellow tape, adding an air of authenticity. The video has garnered over 2.4 million likes, igniting a heated debate online about its credibility. However, it has been revealed that the clip was fabricated using advanced artificial intelligence technologies. Now, I'm going to argue that anybody who looks at this clip and anybody who looked at it and then thought it was real, I can't imagine that some people would be that dumb in the first place, but that's apparently what this person's saying. I can't imagine a lot of people in the UFO community looking at this video. I'll show it to you in a second, but I can't imagine anyone looking at that video and thinking it was real. I thought it was fake the second I saw it. In fact, this guy has a whole bunch of fake videos on his Instagram page, so I don't know how anybody could fall for anything that this guy put forward. And I don't think he's trying to fool anybody. I think he's just creating artwork. I mean, anybody who believed any of this stuff that this guy's putting up there would have to be not that intelligent, I gotta say. And anyway, this article continues. It says, this incident is not unique. Numerous purported UFO sightings have echoed similar patterns, many being proven as AI-generated fabrications. When? I don't know about that. I know that there's a lot of AI videos out there, but right when you see them, you pretty much know. But there, you could be fooled. I got to say that there are some videos out there we just don't know anymore because AI is getting the computer technology, the CGI is so good at this point that some people could make some things up there, and it'd be hard to tell, unless something is filmed, with the actual cell phone camera itself, and you have the metadata to be able to prove it. That's probably the only way at this point. But so I do understand that. But however, when we'll look at this guy's Instagram page in a second when we get through this article, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyways, historical reports also back this phenomenon, recalling an alleged UFO crash near Kingman, Arizona in 1953. Public fascination remains high, but it's crucial to approach such content with skepticism. I believe a lot of us, in the UFO community, approach it with skepticism. You have to. Anyway, in a landscape filled with altered realities, the line between fact and fiction continues to blur as technology evolves. So too does the art of deception in the realm of UFO sightings. Can we still trust what we see? Well, that's gonna be interesting as time goes forward, because it's gonna get harder and harder to trust what we see. But anyway, later on in the article, she writes the pros and cons of AI and UFO content creation. I don't think there's any real pros for the most part, except if you're trying to create a thumbnail for your video, or something like that. But I think anybody should know, like when I create, for instance, if I use AI to create thumbnails for my videos, that they weren't real. They're just meant to let you know what this video is going to be about. And that's pretty much what I do. And I think that's what a lot of content creators do. But anyway, the pros: increased engagement. AI generated content can create viral moments, capturing public imagination and generating discussions about UFOs. So there's one of the pros, she says. Entertainment value. These videos can serve as intriguing entertainment, sparking curiosity about extraterrestrial life and scientific inquiry. Okay, and then the cons. Misinformation. The ability to fabricate convincing footage raises concerns about the spread of false information, leading to public distrust in media. And then also skepticism toward real evidence. Genuine UFO sightings may be dismissed due to a growing number of AI-generated fakes, further complicating efforts to investigate legitimate phenomena. Yeah, so as time goes forward and the technology gets better and better, it's going to become problematic, because people will be putting stuff online, and some people are going to really think it's real when it's really not. And it's going to come down to there's going to be additional measures that are going to be needed in order to prove a certain video if it's real or not. And that includes, taking it right from the source of where it was filmed and all that kind of thing. There's going to have to be other steps taken. And actually, even right now, there needs to be those steps taken. I mean, you need to be able to prove that whether a video was tampered with or not. That's one thing. But let's go to this guy's... This is this guy's Cyber Visions. This is his. Look at this site. Now look at these things he's putting on here. Okay, for one thing, here's the video with the flying saucer. Now this doesn't look real to me. There's people standing around. There's two guys in hazmat suits looking at it. There's numbers written on the thing. Like, I mean, come on. This doesn't look like it's something, it looks like it's either fake or I mean, it's not real. I mean, anybody who looks at this, for one thing, look at it's all paneled. It looks like it was a UFO used in a 1982 science fiction movie or something. If a flying saucer used for something like that, I mean, that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like it's something real. And you see a bunch of people standing there outside on the outskirts of this while these other guys are taking pictures in their hazmat suits. I mean, this, to me, there was alarm bells right when I saw it. I mean, this is, and he says here, basically, this guy is saying that this is leaked footage and stuff with all these videos. No, anybody who looks at this is supposed to know that this stuff is fake. Like, look at this picture here. Has other guys in hazmat suits. Scientists conducting alien experiments in Antarctica's secret labs. This is leaked footage, he says. Now, these are fake aliens in little tubes. That's fake. It's all made up. I mean, anybody could see this by just looking at them. Look at this stuff. I mean, how could anybody believe this? I mean, here's a picture of a giant skull of this was found behind the ice wall in Antarctica, leaked footage. I mean, there's all these alien statues or aliens. I mean, this stuff was fake. I mean, how could anybody fall for this? I mean, but maybe there's people stupid enough too. I mean, look at it. Here's another video where he has golden pyramids found in Antarctica. I mean, here's some giant fish with giant teeth in it. And here's the best one. This is the one I look at this one. Santa Claus. Look at that. Frozen Santa found in Antarctica's icy void, leak footage. Now, come on. Now, how could anyone looks at this guy's Instagram page knows that he's having fun. That's all he's doing. He's not trying to trick. I don't think he's trying to trick anybody either. But if people are getting tricked nonetheless by this kind of stuff, wow. Anyway, I'll leave links to all this so you can check it out for yourself. But I don't think any rational person could be fooled by this. But according to this article, people are. According to this person who wrote this article here, they are getting fooled by this. I just don't see how that's possible, folks. I just don't see. But yeah, I do agree. We do need to be careful about what's out there, and you have to, vet everything. And it's good to talk to the people when you get footage of something, especially when it's really good footage. You need to talk to the people involved to really get to the bottom of it, right? You need to hear their side of the story. When did they film it? How did they film it? What was it like after it was over? Why did you stop filming at this point? I mean, all these things, all those blanks need to be filled in. And then you also need to get you need to be able to prove that a certain, like say something on cell phone camera. You need to be able to prove that you really did film it, that you didn't film it and then take it back to your computer and then add CGI stuff. You need to be able to prove that you filmed it with your camera, and there are ways to do that. So, we need to be cautious about that, about what we see, especially moving forward, because, again, the technology is getting better and better and better all the time, every single day, every single year. It gets bigger and better, and people could be fooled, I guess. I don't see how people could have been fooled by this pretend crash UFO in Arizona, because that seems like it was absurd to think that there was something to it in the first place, but we'll see how things go with other sightings as time goes on. But anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.